what do I do with mine?
Hi, you're going to try that in a minute. You can start doing some ones if you want.
Okay.
So we're back with the second part 2 of your sketchbook assignment number 3, which is watercolor painting. And we've already done the wash technique and the dry brush technique and the salt technique in the previous video. So now we're going to go on and do the crayon resist. So you're going to need a crayon. So hopefully you have a crayon at home. I don't think I sent these with you packages. If you don't, that's okay. If you have like a candle, anything that's waxy, you can use as the resist. So the thing about the wax and the crayon is that once you're going to draw with it in whatever kind of pattern you want on your paper, but when you paint over it, the wax and the crayon resists the paint. The paint's going to beat off and it's not going to go there. So it's going to leave a pattern underneath. So I'm going to try to do a little drawing with a white crayon on mine here. Oh, it's kind of a sparkly crayon. This is a neat one. I'm just going to do like a pattern of...
That was one that I got.
Maybe some... Cool. Let's do some random circles here and see what happens. Okay. So now it's best to use your wash paintbrush for this part now. And you're going to just get yourself some paint. You'll use orangey color this time. The other thing is if your paints get dirty, you can always run them under the tap and use your brush to clean them off to get kind of nicer, brighter colors. If you're finding that, or you can blot it off with some Kleenex or a rag or a paper towel. I'm going to do that with this orange because it's a little bit dirty. And then you're going to get, you want enough water, but you don't want it too watery because you want it to see the color, because otherwise you won't see. So you can kind of see where I drew the circles here. But now I'm going to paint over this with the orange. And hopefully you can see how as I'm painting, it's like a magic kind of secret message type thing. Wherever I use the crayon, the paint is not sticking there. So hopefully you can see that. And that's another kind of technique you can use. So if you don't want, you could actually color like a whole area in with white crayon if you didn't want the whole area to be watercolor. And then you can paint over top of that. So I'll just show you here. I painted over this whole area. And I think I didn't use enough water there, which is why that's going kind of funny. But here you can kind of see it's, yeah, not sticking there. Okay, I could try the same thing. I wrote this word crayon resist, and then if I go over that with my crayon and then I paint over that, you can see how it's not sticking. It's just going and dripping right off. Okay, so that's that. The next one is blot. So for this one, you need some kind of paper towel or Kleenex or a rag or even old newspaper or flyer, something to take away.
That's my dry brush.
Oh, that's really good. You can show people if you want.
It's a little cute wax though.
That's okay. So this blotting technique is often made or used to make clouds. So I'm going to do a little bit of, you can use the top part. If obviously you can create whatever color you want and you use this top part to mix color. So I'm going to try and mix a little color up here. I think I'm going to use both blues to kind of make, it might be like a little bit of a not so bright sky, but we'll see. So now I'm just going to do a wash here. Oopsie. Keep going. And this blue one. So I'm going straight across. And now I'm going to take my Kleenex and try to use a clean one if you don't want the old ink to transfer. But you can see how when I take it away, kind of makes like little things almost like clouds. So you can use it to remove the paint once you put it down. It almost looks like little fluffy clouds. So that's the technique you can use. You don't have to use the blotting technique to make clouds, but that's what it's often used for. Okay, and you'll see as this salt one starts to dry, it's going to start looking cool. So maybe by the time we're done, we can show you a little bit more. After the salt one is dry, you're going to want to just brush the salt off into the garbage or the ground outside. Okay, so the last one This one is the wet on wet technique. And it kind of happened in this one on the wash where it started bleeding. But if you want your lines to not be so precise, if you like that kind of bleeding effect, then this is something you can use. So before I use any paint, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some clean water and my paintbrush, and I'm just going to paint the water directly onto my paper. So for the wet and wet, first you're getting your paper wet with water. And for this to work, it has to be wet. And you can make it quite wet, not so wet that it's making the paper disintegrate. But now I'm going to take a different paintbrush, a round one, and I'm going to start adding some color to this one. Maybe we'll mix up like an orangey red or something, or a reddy orange. And I'll start doing that. Just going to mix up a little bit of color. And you don't want it to dry out, so you want to do it before your color dries out. But you can see how when I put the dot on, it kind of spreads out. So if I take more, if it was flat, it would be better. But do you see how it's kind of like whoosh, it goes whoosh like that? The water starts pulling on the paint, and it makes it kind of bleed and look, oops, sorry, you can't see that, pretty cool. Okay, so I'm also going to attach another video to the Google Classroom assignment of how to do watercolor. So you can always look at that as well. It has some of these techniques, but also has some different techniques. I'm only making you try these ones, but you're welcome to go look at those other ones and try as many as you want. Okay, so that's kind of wet on wet and makes a neat effect. It's a bleeding effect. Okay, last one is the tape masking. So if you don't have tape, this is going to be hard for you. You don't have to do it if you don't have tape. But if you have any kind of masking tape, this is just painter's tape, so it'll come off of the paper a little bit more easily. You can use it to make straight lines because the tape is straight, but the other thing you can do is you can cut shapes out of your tape and add them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut some random shapes out of this, and I'm just going to cut some triangles, I think. And I'm going to stick my triangles onto the paper.
Mom, mine is looking like sort of like the stippling. So I'm
it?
like
Oh, that's
making
cool.
a background
Yeah,
with this.
neato. You can show
And
people
then-
if you want on
Okay.
slideshow. So Lizzie's trying these techniques out too, just to show you what they might look like from a different person. So it'll be different. Yours will be different than other people's, but we're just practicing the techniques. And then, okay, I'm gonna put that there. Good enough, I think, for this. So now I've just cut out some shapes. You can do straight lines if you want to, do whatever, but use the masking tape. Make sure it's pressed down pretty well, because if you don't press it down enough, the paint is gonna seep underneath. And then you can just take a brush, any brush you want really, and you can just paint over. So here, I'm just gonna paint over. You can do any kind of technique you want here too. So I might do some blues here. Right, go like that. And then it's best to wait for this to dry before you take it off, but I'm gonna show you what it looks like before it's dry. I'm using a pretty small brush. I don't know why I chose such a small brush. It was kind of silly of me. But I'm just gonna move this around a bit more. And I'm gonna change to orange. I'm gonna add some orange in there. So I like orangey red and blue together. I think it's a cool color combination.
What was the blot one?
The blotting one
Yeah.
was where you do a wash and then you use the Kleenex to take it, kind of make it look like clouds.
Okay.
That's a good question because some people might be wondering that as well, right? Okay, so there we go. So let's try. Maybe I'll do like a little bit. It's gonna look brownish, but that's okay. Cool. Okay. So now this isn't gonna be great because it's still a bit wet, but I'm gonna try my best. Maybe I'll use my blotting technique just to remove some of the excess water here so it doesn't run too much for me when I try to take it up. But you don't have to do that. If you let it dry, I suggest letting it dry all the way. So now you're gonna pull, start pulling, taking your pieces of tape off, and you can see that where the tape was, it is white, the color of the paper. So you can actually do this if you did a wash and waited for the wash to dry completely and then stuck the tape on top of the wash, you could actually leave the paper the color of the wash. So if I waited for this one to dry, for instance, then I stuck my tape on top of there, it would block the rest of the paint and it would be purple underneath the tape instead of the white of the paper. So you can try that too if you want. But here I'm just going to take this one off. And then last one for the big reveal. Like that. And ta-da, okay? So those are your 7 techniques that you can practice. And when you're finished doing those 7 techniques, then it's up to you. The rest of your assignment is to make 3 more paintings and try to fill the whole page on 3 pages. Try to fill 3 whole pages in your sketchbook, 1 painting on each. Try to use some of the techniques you learned in the first part of this assignment. So use some of these techniques in your painting, but your paintings can be whatever you want. You can just experiment and make designs, or if you want to try painting like a plant or something, you could do that. You could look at the artists that I posted in the assignment as inspiration, or do some more research online and try to find some other artists that you like. You need more water. So Lizzie's having problems with her crayon resist because she's not using enough water in her paint. So for the crayon resist to work, you really need a fair bit of water.
Okay.
Okay, Bubba? There you go. Yeah. Sometimes it works better than other times, but that's looking great. Do you want to show them what you have so far?
Okay.
So Lizzie's been working away on hers while I've been talking to you, and she's been trying all of these as well. So it looks great. It's her wash. It's her crayon resist. What's this one? That's the blotting. This is a dry brush. This is the salt. This is the wet on wet. So that's looking great. All she has left to do is the masking tape when she's finished. So hopefully that was helpful. Have fun with this. Let me know if you have any questions. And see you later. Bye. Thanks for helping, Lizzie.